right. So everybody, there you are.
Hey, how you doing?
I was worried for a second.
Ronda, can you talk about this matchup of a great judo fighter against a great wrestler? How do you expect the fight to go?
Well, fights are chaotic in themselves, so you can't really expect that much. That's why we don't really go in with game plans. You know, we plan out the first exchange, and we are prepared for the tendencies of the other fighter, but we don't really know. And so that's really hard to say, but from what I've experienced in training is the better the partners are that I'm training with, the higher skill level and the higher caliber of athlete that I spar against and the people that I fight against, the better that I perform. You know, I rise to meet the level of my opponent, and so I expect to be better than I ever been in my whole career. And I started this camp still in shape from the last one. You know, the last fight I came in coming off 2 movies, and you know I did the best I could to come in shape. But I mean that was like 10 weeks without any sparring or anything like that. And so I started this one in shape, and my coach was actually going through his notes from all the last fights, and we realized that all my best performances when I had the shortest amount of time since the last fight. And so yeah, I was feeling like there's a lot of parallels between this fight and my first fight, and my fight with Kaufman. And I really feel a lot of the same way, and I really did have some problems with ring rust in the last fight, and I really don't think it's going to be an issue at all. And I'm pretty excited about this one, and I've been excited to fight Sara for a while because I really feel like I'll be able to show more of what I'm capable of against her than I would against some of my other opponents.
One of the things that I thought stood out in the Tate fight is no matter what was going on, your ability to, you know, exert your strength and throw her around and get her in the position you wanted to kind of shine through and helped you win that fight. Do you feel like no one in this division has an answer for your strength?
Well, it's funny, you know, the judo and wrestling, when you take a gi off, how do you really how do you distinguish between the two? And I usually tell people, like, the throws that you have to muscle through are wrestling. The throws that happen effortlessly are judo. And so I didn't use any strength to throw Miesha for that fight. I did use strength to throw Carmouche in that first fight, and that's why it wasn't a pretty throw. But for Miesha, it wasn't strength. It was just, you know, a decade and a half of just trained, you know, reflexes. So I don't know. It's my style of judo it was always really different. That's why I was so successful in judo, despite being from the U.S. and where we traditionally don't really have very good results. Is that I was always extremely unorthodox. And so even if they found like a really high quality, you know, judo player, they probably would fight nothing like me. And so that's why I think a lot of these girls have difficulty fighting me, is that I'm extremely difficult to prepare for, because, you know, my mom was just so intelligent when she started having me train. I mean, from when I was like 11 to 16 and I was training in LA, my mom would take me to like 4 or 5 different clubs a week just to get a different style of judo every day. And so I would develop, you know, defenses and have kind of develop my own kind of hybrid style that'd be very hard to train for. And then when I tore my knee out when I was 16, that was a lot of my throws I couldn't use anymore. So then I had to learn a whole new set of throws that didn't involve my right leg at all. And then by the time my knee was healed, I had double the throws that anybody else really did. And so, and I spent an entire year just training on the ground, when judo players don't ever really do any groundwork. And there was just a series of coincidences and, you know, lucky advantages that I had that led to me to being very difficult for these girls to prepare for.
Do you feel you'll have an easier time handling her wrestling versus her handling your judo?
Well, since I know that I'm going to win, I think so. But you know, it's definitely easier for me to prepare for it than it would be for her.
Have you brought in special wrestling considerations into this camp to prepare for her?
Yeah, I mean, my wrestling coach, Martin Tarverdyan, he is an Olympic medalist himself, and we actually had world champion wrestler. What was her name? Where's Edmond? He knows her name. God, I felt so bad, but she actually won the world championships and then had beaten Sara before, and she came in and trained with us a little bit. And you know, it's much easier in the U.S. to find high quality wrestlers, and we've been training. I mean, I've been training with people that I'm extremely lucky to have around, and it'd be very difficult to find for her to find someone in judo that's comparable to them.
Strategically, do you feel like you've both been preparing for each other longer than this fight's been announced?
Yeah. I mean, we started at the amateur level at the exact same time, and so we've both been aware of each other since then, and I've been sure that our paths would cross at some point.
Have you talked at all with Shayna? Have you guys gone over that? Is that something that you believe will help you a lot, her having been already in the cage?
Yeah, I have, and it's helpful. I mean, we're not dependent on it, but it's useful information. But more about her personality than anything else. It's I think the personality of a fighter matters more than anything when you're inside there, and because physically and skill-wise, you get so close when you're at that level that the personality is really what sets people apart, I think.
How do you personality do you believe you're a far more aggressive fighter? It seems in looking at past fights that you would be. Will that change, or you still see yourself?
Just from watching the Sara's fights, it seems to me that she's much more cautious when she fights, and I mean, she has a lot more decisions, and she wins rounds and gets points, and that's just not really my style, So personality-wise, she's much more methodical and thinks things through a little bit more, and so I would expect it to be very different from the Miesha fight, where she would usually comes charging in. I wouldn't expect something like that from Sara.
She might also be a little more mentally balanced or stable, having competed in the Olympics. She probably might be able to keep that in check. I mean, in that respect, you're facing somebody a little bit more similar to you.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, I was like, look, it's not, a UFC title really doesn't compare that much to the Olympics, because, they have new title fights all the time, but the Olympics could be, one day in your whole life. And there's no amount of pressure that can really ever compare to that. And, just what it takes mentally to get through that is, I don't think you can recreate that in any other environment. And so I expect her to, be ready to go when it comes to the day of the fight.
You seem like the type to criticize yourself in your performance. I'm curious what you thought of your own fight against Miesha and how well you thought you did. It was an exciting fight, but I'm curious what you thought you did well and what you thought you could have worked on.
It's funny, when I walked out, I thought I was really, really slow, and I thought that I made a lot of really stupid mistakes. And when I watched later, it was a lot faster than I thought it was. The pace was a lot quicker than I thought it was, and so and just the way that I felt, having a 10-month layoff, it's. I mean, you can't really do anything about that. Boxers, they won't take 2 title fights like that. They'll take another tune-up fight, and then they'll fight if they have that long of a layoff, and it's for a reason. It's not because they mentally are unable to deal with it. It's because that you cannot recreate that environment in the gym, and your body needs to adjust to it. And so that definitely was an issue in the last fight, and just because I didn't feel right, then I was much more critical of all my actions as well.
Well, and she's she starts fast and comes right at you, so you had to wake up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I don't really hang out in any of my fights either.
Will there be anything different mentally now that you've gone past the first round? It's not having maybe, whether even subconsciously, that pressure, that clock going, that hey, I finished all my fights in the first round. Is there going to be anything different mentally knowing you've already passed that?
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that I get better as the fight goes on, and that the first round's actually my worst one. I mean, I was always like that in judo, and I'm like that, in the gym when I'm sparring. But it's another to actually experience it and know that by the time I got to the third round, I was like, okay, I'm going to tighten up, and I wanted to get more disciplined and on my striking and everything. And so I felt like my focus increasing as the fight went on, and that really is encouraging, especially in an environment where I'd never been there before, and I was ring rusted, and it's a huge venue. So knowing that I could deal with it in that circumstance, I know that it'll be a lot easier later. I think the first time is just like the first round; it's always the hardest.
Do you think that would? Obviously, she'd better answer it, but do you think that would in any way change Sarah's approach, being that, like you said, she's had some decisions, and it seemed like always what everybody would say is, oh, my game plan is to take her into the later rounds, tire her out. She's never been past the first round. Do you think that going to the third round will change the perspective on you and possibly the game plan?
Yeah, it's not so great for me. It works out better for me when people assume that I'm going to be worse as the rounds go on. It works out better for me when people assume that I'm terrible on my back. And these things actually, it works out better for me when people think that my striking is complete garbage, because then these are things that they don't prepare for at all. So then it's actually, it helps me out. There are people that underestimate me. And so, I hope they still find reasons to underestimate me in some areas. But that's why it's kind of nice to have the fights end so quickly and have so little footage for other people to look at and for them to assume what they haven't seen is bad. So I'm kind of slowly losing that advantage over time.
How would you assess your striking now?
Terrible.
Really?
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst ever. You should just not strike at all the whole camp.
Never.
Never.
I see you practicing your body shots, though. You've come a long way in that sense. You're throwing them a lot smoother and a lot closer.
Lucky days. I don't know. People were picking out shots. They were totally terrible the whole workout, and then someone with an Instagram thing, they found the only one good shot for the whole workout, and they're actually all crap.
Yeah.
You should see Edmond's face behind you right now. You've got the four. You've got the four horsewomen going. You, Shayna, Jessamyn, and Marina. Let's talk about why you kept those ladies around after the show, and what you are doing for each other in terms of making each other better.
Well, I like them.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much the main reason is we really enjoy having each other around, and everyone was out of the house for Marina's fight last night, and I was just sitting there like, I hate this. I hate sitting here alone. This is the worst. And it's funny, like whenever one person's gone, like Shayna went to Singapore for the helping out the troops thing, which is super cool. But it's whenever one person's gone, everyone's like, where is Shayna? Where is Shayna? And then we get all like, there's one of us missing. It's like the biggest deal. And then when I was gone, everyone would like FaceTime me all the time. We were like, where are you? That's all we talk about is where the hell are you? And so it's funny. Whenever one of the wheels is missing, we feel the imbalance. And it's really easy to stay motivated when everyone around you has the same goals. And it's like if there's one day you're like, man, I don't really feel like going to practice, I'm really beat up and tired, and everyone else is like, woo, coffee, practice, yeah! Like, okay, they pick you up in their momentum and their energy, and we really help each other in that way, and it's been really hard for me to really have, close girlfriends for a while. It's funny, I found a journal last night, and there was a page in it from 2010, and I was complaining that I didn't have any girls that I ever saw in my entire life except for my family. Like, I had no friends that were girls. They all lived on the East Coast, and I trained with all guys, and it was only like my family that I saw, and now I'm just covered in chicks now. They're just like all over the place. And it's kind of cool because I never had any girls that I could relate to, I mean, at the time I was like, what mid-20s girl has anything in common with me? I would be annoyed with them within 10 minutes. And so this is the first time I've actually had a group of girlfriends that we all we get each other, we have the same sense of humor, the same things are important to us, and yeah, we really lucked out. Like the team dynamic is just, it's amazing, and it helps all of us.
And Marina just won her fight last night via armbar. Are you truly creating Armbar Nation with these girls?
No, I'm not doing anything really. It's them. They really, really work hard. I have been in 2 training camps back to back, and I've really had to focus on myself. And before that, I was off doing the movies. And it's really, the work that they've been putting in here, and Edmond's been really putting a lot of time into them. And I can't really claim credit for anything. They've really been handling it on their own, and I'm just extremely proud of them, and especially Marina last night. She really performed well, and she let her hands go, and she's showing a lot of progress, and we expect her to go pro in her next fight.
Ronda, speaking about the 4 horsewomen, I assume that that's something that came from Shayna as a pro wrestling fan. Have you guys played that up, at least in the house? Have you talked about who's Tully, who's Arn, and where's pro wrestling on your radar screen as well?
Well, it's funny that since Shayna moved in, it's like our group activity now is that we sit down and watch Raw and all this stuff together. It's like, it's like our little family time. We all sit down like, okay. And then the video game came in, and it's funny, I had some wrestling buddies that had, so now like I gave them to Shayna and Jessamyn. They sleep with their little wrestling buddies, and Shayna totally converted our whole house into like a super pro wrestling house. And me and Shayna did have an ongoing debate on who was Arn Anderson and who was Ric Flair. And I was like, sorry, I have to be Ric Flair. I gotta be Ric Flair. So eventually we came to the conclusion that I could be Ric Flair and she would be Arn Anderson, as long as I had to be Goku and she could be Vegeta. Which I really didn't want to let Vegeta go, but it made more sense. It made more sense because I think there was this one line she was quoting. It was like, nobody kills Kakarot while I'm around. And she's like, no one can beat you except for me. And that's pretty much it makes sense. So with Jessamyn and Marina, they're just like,
Terry Wyndham and Tully.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I think Jessamyn's Tully.
But you're friends with The Rock, and you like CM Punk. Which one is your favorite?
Crazy! How dare you put me on the spot? Oh God! I mean, I have to say The Rock. I do. I love me some Rock.
Will you be at Raw tonight?
Sorry, Punk. No, I can't. I wanted to go so bad, and I did have the opportunity to go, but it's the girls are gonna have to represent. I'm in training camp, and just I have to focus, and it is what it is. I can go to all of them that I want sometime later in life when I don't have fights or something like that.
Do you want Punk to do MMA, or do you want him to stay in wrestling?
Ooh. Well, I was really bummed when I heard he was leaving wrestling. I would love for him to come back and have a big showdown with Triple H. That would be cool.
So you're not interested in staying inside a cage?
I know, it would definitely be interesting. But I've just been following his storyline and career in wrestling for so long that I'm just I feel like there's so much more that he could do. But I also understand him being frustrated and fed up. That's really what happened with me in judo, and I kind of left with a very sour taste in my mouth, and I definitely relate to him and where he's at in his life right now.
Your training partner, Shayna, a couple weeks ago made a comment about Julia Pena basically playing the victim card with her training and basically blaming the men, and she said that she puts the women back 10 years. I don't want you to speak for Shayna, but can you talk a little bit about the dynamic of the realities of women training of men in MMA gyms? And is it something that just has to happen?
What has to happen?
Well, Dana said, Julia, she's training with men and she shouldn't be doing that. And Shayna,
he said that she shouldn't be training with men?
That Julia was training with men that were too big for her. But a lot of women have to train with men just because of the gyms. There's not enough women their size.
I heard she was training with someone that was the exact same size as her. But that's the thing, no one really knows exactly what happened. So it's some big mystery, So I really can't. I wasn't there when it happened. I don't know what went down, and so I can't really say. I mean, I don't think there has been one consistent story of what's happened.
But more about women training with men in gyms? I mean, is this just something that has to happen, or like now you just said right now you just got 2 new partners that you can train with at your size? Is that just not normal for most women? Do they have to train with men?
Well, yeah, I mean, women's MMA is a really small community, and so if you find someone that's a really high caliber and around your weight, chances are that you're going to be fighting them. And so it's hard for girls to find high-level partners to train with, because more often than not, they're their competition. You know, women's MMA is still developing, and I think it's going to be some time before someone got hurt. Excuse me, everybody. There's an emergency. I must fight for justice. But yeah, I mean, it was always like that in judo too. You have to train with guys a little bit. I mean, it's just where the sport's at. And even if it was only girls around, I wouldn't want to train with only chicks. Because when I was doing judo, a lot of these other countries would have such, deep and developed women's programs. The women would only train with women, and the men would only train with men. And I felt like I had an advantage over those women because I did train with guys sometimes. So I think that you need a little bit of both at the appropriate times.
You recently did a photo shoot where you're looking very, very vulnerable and very ladylike in some very distressed, strange places.
That's not recent.
Oh, okay. So
that was Throwback Thursday. If you actually looked at the caption, that says my first photo shoot with Brian Bowen Smith, when I've actually done 3.
Okay.
So that was around 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I posted a behind-the-scenes picture and a picture of a monitor.
Yeah.
And then Brian was like, well, here's 2 of the actual pictures of the shoot. I'm like, well, if you already put them out there, then I'll put them out there too. And
I don't think many of us got past the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't read the caption. So.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. But those were from a long time ago. That was actually my first real photo shoot that I ever had. The picture that's in Brian's book that they actually ended up using for the Maxim Hot 100 last year, the naked rappy one. Yes. It was that day, yeah, which is actually funny because I was like, I had something wrong with my stomach and I just felt so ugly and gross that day. And he's just such an amazing photographer. He just made me feel so comfortable and I remember when I put that whatever thing on and that whatever chair, I was just like, I look like an idiot. I look like a stupid fat idiot.
You mean
right
with the
now.
Garter and the bit?
Yeah, I remember thinking that I looked retarded, and he told me to sit in this chair, and I'm like, I feel retarded right now, and it was the most awkward thing because it was one of my first ever, and he's a true professional. He's a world famous photographer for a reason, and he took a day that I felt terrible and made me look great, and I can't wait to work with him again, and he's a true artist. I'm really lucky to be able to start with him so early in my career.
When did you finalize the film deals, and what's the schedule on the Entourage is coming first?
Finalize? Well, I heard a little bit ago, but I couldn't say anything, and I couldn't really acknowledge it. What?
Before Tate fight?
No. Actually, before the Tate fight, I ran, we at the end of the day, I don't really watch TV at all. And, but at the end of the day, we would watch Big Bang Theory and just have cause I'd be dead on the couch and just not wanting to move. And I just wanted some brain junk food to, look at. And then we ended up watching every single one of the Big Bang Theories. And then we were out of shows, and we're like, well, let's find a new show. Let's find something to watch. And everything was like, well, let's watch Breaking Bad. I'm like, this is really depressing. I'm sorry, but I've been fighting people all day. And I want to be before I go to bed. And so we ran through a couple of shows, and we wanted to find something lighthearted or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I've never seen Entourage. Everyone's been talking about Entourage for years. I've never seen a single episode of Entourage. Let's start watching it. And then, so being that I don't watch anything at all, this was the only show I was watching, and I was on the 3rd season when which was by the time I was after the Miesha fight, and that I actually got word about the movie. And so that was funny. I was like, I just manifested the shit out of that. Oh my god! I didn't even know there was a movie. It was kind of funny. And I heard that a little bit ago. And with the Athena Project, my agent Brad actually FedExed me the book while I was in Bulgaria, and I tore through it in 48 hours. It was amazing, and you read it like a movie. And the funny thing is, Brad Thor, who wrote the book, I guess saw that one special that, I don't know, what is it? God, it was the one where they made me all cartoony, You know what I'm talking about? That one special that they did on me.
On Road to the Octagon thing?
No, it's like, I don't know. They saw some special, and then he was like, "Oh my God, this one character in this book is just you." Like, and then I was like reading it, and I was like, "Yeah, the weirdest stuff." Like, there were like strange parallels. He never knew me, and it was like he wrote this one character exactly for me. And so we talked a little bit on the phone when I was in Bulgaria, because I couldn't take any meetings when I got back. I'm going straight into camp, and there's just really no way. So we talked about it, and I was just like, "Look, I'm in. Let's find a way to make this work." And that was months ago, and so I had to put it out of my mind, because I'm back in training camp, and I really hadn't been able to think. I just kind of had in the back of my mind that's something that could be a possibility later on. And fortunately, I have an amazing agent that it's his job to keep it in the forefront of his mind, and so he was still going after that for me, and so was able to work something out with Warner Brothers, which is really cool. But I don't know, it's weird. I have been avoiding talking about movies for so long that I almost feel like uncomfortable about it right now. I wasn't even talking about a movie. I was talking about a phone call and a book. So that's kind of like, a loophole. But I'm excited about it. I really can't really devote that much time, thinking about it. But it's a really good book.
And the Entourage starts in March, you said, and goes for a couple months?
It starts in the middle of March, but how much time will be? I probably won't be have to be like on call for a bunch of months, and it's lucky that it's in Los Angeles, so I'll be able to be home, and I don't have to go anywhere, and I'll be able to train all the way through it, and it'll be like minimally inconvenient, and it's kind of more. It'll definitely have all my focus later on, but right now it's more a peripheral thing that's going on that I'm trying really not to devote that much attention to.
Ronda, a lot of times during Entourage, they would have celebrities on the show actually play themselves. Are you going to be playing yourself as athlete Ronda Rousey, or are you going to be a character?
I think you should watch that movie.
What was it about Athena Project that spoke to you particularly, and also any kind of wish list actors you'd like to have on the cast?
You know what, honestly, like right now, I don't want to get too much into it. It's just, I want to keep my focus on the fight, and I'm extremely excited about it, but I mean, it's just, I don't think it's good for my health to really be getting into the movies right now. I need to focus on the fight, and that's really what is the most important to me, because I really feel as my life is on the line every single time that I'm out there. So anything that would distract me from that is just, no matter how cool and amazing it is, I just can't afford to give it that much of my attention right now.
So Ronda,
even talking about what you liked about the book?
Well, you should definitely read it, but it's what I liked was it's very realistic. It's not gimmicky or Charlie's Angels-y. It's all based on truth, and that's what I like the most about it. It's strong women in a real environment that these women actually exist in real life. It's not made up.
Ronda, with some athletes that make a transition from fighting to movies, they find out really quick that it pays well and I don't get hit in the face, and they stick with the movies. Is that something that's been on your mind?
Well, I'm a fighter. I enjoy fighting, and I was doing judo for a decade and a half for pretty much no money. And if money was really what was important for me, I might be a stockbroker right now. And so I just want to have enough money to be able to do what I enjoy for a living. And right now, the main thing that I enjoy is fighting, and I enjoy it more, I think, if I get to do it in a more of a cyclical fashion, and being able to focus on fighting for a while, and now I'm having these 2 fights back to back, and it takes a lot of attention, a lot of energy. It'd be nice to do something a little different and miss it. And so, and then by the time, I go and do some movie stuff, then I'll be kind of like, oh my God, this is cool and all, but I'm tired of getting my makeup done every day, and they're destroying my hair, and I really just want to get in the gym, and I'm tired of being like in a NASCAR pit where I'm just like standing there and like people are poking me all over the place, and just like I want to grunge out and not worry about what I look like, and just be a bum in the gym, and they both make me miss the other, and I feel like they both make me better at the other.
When it comes to selling a fight, the dynamics of this fight are far different than the Tate fight, right? So McMann is more decorated as an athlete, but less people know who she is. Do you feel like it's kind of up to you to let people know how badass McMann is? And is that a weird position for you as the person who's facing her?
No, I always talk up my opponents. Athletically, when have I ever said a bad thing about one of my opponents? If you think about it. I mean, even Miesha, who is obviously not my best friend, I never said a bad thing athletically about her. I always said that she was a great athlete, and I always talked her up in that respect. And so, but I think even though Sara isn't as well known, I think it really helps a lot that this fight really coincides with the Winter Olympics, and so it's really, you know, an Olympic-y theme going on. Sorry. And I think that kind of just helps that the whole country and the whole world is really kind of in that mode where, and you know, Daniel Cormier, of course, is on the card as well, and is another Olympian. And so, like, when people get Olympic fever, it's all over the place, and I think that's probably another reason why they insisted on making this fight now and so soon, was because of the good timing for it.
Gang, how about 2 more questions on 170, and then we'll get Edmond up here.
Speaking of Edmond, can you just talk about what an asset he is to your camp and how great of a coach he really is? A lot of people don't get a chance to see his work with you that much.
Well, I'm a little wary about talking about how great he is as a coach because more people might be coming here and be taking my time from him. And I'm selfish like that, you know, and I'm like Satan at his Sweet 16. I'm like, it's all about me, you know, me, all the attention's on me. And so, but he's amazing. He really, really is. He's my secret weapon that is quickly becoming my not so secret weapon.
So would you not want him to be nominated for Coach of the Year so he stays a secret, or do you feel like that's something he definitely should have been nominated for this year?
I feel like he should have been nominated for everything and more. I really think that he definitely doesn't get enough credit, and I think one of the reasons why he's such an amazing coach is he doesn't give a damn about any credit. You know, he really invests his time and his everything. His what's the word? He's just so invested in his athletes that the return on himself is not even a big deal at all. It was a long time before I could even convince him to take any money from me, and he's one of those people that he's passionate about what he does, and he does it because he loves it, not because he needs the money or he wants the recognition. It's because it's what his passion is, and that's what makes him the best.
Olympian versus Olympian, this is a big story for mixed martial arts, especially because it's 2 females getting that accolade. Talk about what this means for you as someone who's vocal about establishing female MMA, and what reception do you want this fight to have, you know, win or lose? How do you want it to resonate with the public?
I really want the public to have more respect for not just the women's MMA fighters, but MMA in general. You know, and it started out, everyone had this kind of idea that MMA fighters were 2 guys that they found in the bar at the casino that they're like, you know, paid them enough money to jump in the cage and swing at each other. And I think it really represents the progress and the refinement of the sport, and that it's not just 2 chicks that, you know, were doing Taibo and decided to, you know, give us a try one day, or their boyfriend was a fighter and so they got into it. And it's 2 girls that were at the pinnacle of their sport and decided that MMA was a better option, and moved over to that. And I think it's not just speaks for the women, it speaks for all the fighters. And it's not that we're just Olympians, we're Olympic medalists, and we're not just Olympic medalists, but we're undefeated Olympic medalists, and we're 2 undefeated Olympic medalists that are fighting during the Olympic Games. I mean, I really don't think this will happen ever again.
So because of your success and popularity, do you think that you have made yourself in the UFC MMA community like more of an influence for women to become professional MMA fighters now?
Well, I didn't know it was an option for me to even do MMA professionally until I saw Gina Carano fight. And so hopefully more girls see that women fight now, and I hope that my work contributes to that, and because they see it out there, they realize it's an option for them, and if they want to do it, then they do it.
Thanks, gang. Go ahead and get Edmond up here. Ronnie gets ready to work out.
Okay.